Hello and welcome to Science Caddy. This is just a quick video today because I want to explain to you why I think understanding science in golf is important. Now I can talk about this from two perspectives, one from a player's perspective and two from a coach's perspective. So we'll start firstly with the player's perspective. So firstly, I think it's important for us as golfers to understand our swing. Because by understanding our swing, we can then start to understand the inadequacies that we potentially have. Now, to actually have a deep understanding of our own golf swing, we need to understand the science behind the swing in the first place. So let's say, for example, we didn't know what X factor was, okay? And we then start to look at our swing and we try to understand where we're going wrong in our swing. If we don't understand the science behind it and the detail as to what we should be doing, it's therefore going to be very difficult for us to actually identify what is wrong with our swing. So it comes back to that kind of age-old statement. We don't know what we don't know. So by actually understanding the science behind the golf swing, we can start to understand the way in which the research suggests we should move and the reasons why we should move that way, which therefore allows us to then reflect on our own golf swing and actually identify, well, do I do these things? And if not, you can then work with a coach to try and take steps to improve your swing. So that's kind of the first reason from a player's perspective that I believe. The second reason is to do with being committed and persevering with kind of swing changes. So the example that I'll provide to you here is, let's say you're new at going to the gym, okay? So you go to the gym for the first time and you work out. You do some squats and deadlifts and then you go away. What happens within 48 hours? We get some serious DOMs, don't we? We start to really experience that pain. Now, if you're new to the gym and you don't really understand what happens when you exercise, you may see that and go, I'm not going to go back and actually start exercising again because that was really difficult and really painful afterwards. So that can't be doing me any good. But actually, if you begin to understand the science behind it and understand that actually we're going to experience DOMs, we are going to experience that pain and why we experience that pain, you then can be more invested in saying, well, actually, okay, so that's part of the process. So therefore, if I keep going, yes, I'll experience that pain, but over time that'll begin to dull down. And actually we'll start to make some gains. So that's just kind of example here from the swing perspective. So if, for example, you're in a lesson with your coach and you're saying, oh, we need to do this particular move, you kind of trust them, don't you? You trust them that these are the movements that you should be doing, okay? But there's value in understanding the why, understanding why you're being asked to move in such a way and why that will have a positive impact upon your swing. So if you understand that why, just like we understand what happens when you exercise and you get DOMs, you can then be more invested and more committed to making those swing changes and actually improving your game. So that's kind of the second reason that I think the value of understanding the science of golf from a player's perspective is about. And the third thing is generally about learning new things. I myself love learning new stuff and I find it really interesting, and I hope you're a similar kind of person to me in that way. This also provides you with new material that you can chat about with your mates in the 19th hole. So they're kind of my three reasons that I think from a player's perspective it's useful to understand the science behind the golf swing. Now, moving now onto the coach's perspective, well, I think from a coach's perspective, if you understand the science, you then become more informed and are therefore more knowledgeable about the golf swing. And this then can hopefully enhance your understanding of the swing and enhance your ability to teach and coach golfers. Now, when you have this understanding, you then may be able to develop and understand more ways to improve the golfer's swing. You may be thinking, okay, well, if we're trying to increase the distance of this client, and you actually begin to understand the science, the kind of the biomechanical reasons as to why and how we develop power in the golf swing, you can start to identify certain areas in which you could change and develop to potentially try and get more distance out of the golfer. So without this kind of understanding, you might miss on some of these areas. So therefore, this can help your ability to actually improve performance in your golfers. The other thing is providing more confidence in your own actions and your own suggestions. So I've been a lecturer for 5 years in sports biomechanics, and sometimes there are topics that I've been asked to teach that if I didn't go away and do more research and get a real good understanding, I can imagine I wouldn't have been that confident in what I was talking about. So I think having that deeper understanding and really understanding why things happen can provide you with confidence when you're actually beginning to teach clients and actually to explain to them why we're asking you to do these certain movements and move in a certain way. So provide you with that confidence when you're actually delivering. The second thing from a coach's perspective I'd also want to talk about is about expanding your knowledge and actually giving us new ideas and new directions for further research. So if you don't understand the science behind the golf swing, how are you ever going to kind of contribute to the way of new ideas about what we could potentially do to improve performance even more? So actually understanding that science behind the golf swing allows you to have a platform to then think a bit more creatively about ways in which you could potentially improve the golf swing. So it allows you that platform to kind of come up with new ideas and pose new questions that we can answer. The other thing to say from a coach perspective is it kind of harps back to what I was talking about from the player's perspective. Surely you want your kind of players, the clients that you're working with, to be more committed and invested in making the changes to their swing, because then they can therefore make more improvements and therefore greater attention for you as a coach. So I think it's valuable for you to be able to explain to these players, well, we're asking you to move in this way, and the reason because of that is because the science shows this, that, and you can be logical in your explanation as to why they should make that change, which, as we said, from the player's perspective, gives them a bit of confidence as kind of that this is why we're making this change, and then hopefully makes them more committed to practicing and making that change. So it kind of works for both the player and the coach. And then finally, kind of more from I guess it's both from the coach and the player's perspective here, but what I find is understanding the science of the golf swing, and I believe that if we as players and coaches understand it better, this can help prevent the spread of misinformation within golf. So you can sometimes see that certain content on YouTube is kind of misleading, is misinformation, and isn't actually reflecting what the science says. So if we have a better understanding of the science behind the golf swing, we can make people in the golfing industry more informed and prevent misleading and misinformation. But secondly, allows you as consumers of content to more easily spot when there is bogus material out there, material that doesn't make sense, material that is misinformation. So they're kind of the reasons as to why I think it's important and valuable for you as a player or as a coach to understand the science behind the golf swing. So hopefully that's given you a bit of context there, and I hope to see you in some other videos and in a webinar in the future. Thank you guys.